owner at Kotao Divers. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands up and give a warm welcome to Mikko. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I think this is my first time in MIDE show, and it looks very good. Thank you for the invitation. Good to see a lot of friends over there. I think you know the story, but there's also new faces, so it's not going for waste. Without further, there was a nice introduction already. Okay, so half of that is already there. I'm from Finland, hence the accent. I'm trying to hide it, but it doesn't quite work. I moved away from Finland like when I was 24 or something, which is about half of my life, so you can come up with my age. I started diving somewhere mid-90s. It's been a long time already. But then I moved to Thailand, so I'm operating from Thailand in an island called Koh Tao, which has been my base for the last 25 years. There, like already mentioned, I have my own dive school called Kotao Divers, which I bought 20-something years ago with 10 euros. And that's been pretty much the best investment in my life. And together with the team, we've been building it up for the last quarter of a century and become one of the, leading technical dive schools and offering the most of range of courses, at least in Sairi Beach, Koh Tao. During the time, I was always passionate about technical diving. I started mine diving in the late 90s in Finland. Did my first 300 dives in Ojamo mines to get my instructor rating. That was a hard course to do. But then I moved immediately to Thailand and started looking for wrecks. And I used to be a wreck hunter. My passion was pretty much wreck diving, and we discovered quite many in the Gulf of Thailand and also in the South China Seas. At some point, a decade or two ago, I got a little bit bored about the way we do things. We were just looking for wrecks. Then you find the wreck, and then you blast about it that you find the wreck, and it was missing something. We didn't want to bring up artifacts or whatnot, so we started to think about another way of approaching, and which was my other passion, which is photographing and videographing the underwater realm. So we started to use more scientific ways of bringing the discoveries out. And during this presentation, I'm going to talk about Bottomline projects. That was kind of the birth of Bottomline projects. The idea behind the whole thing was let's do something a little bit more serious, but still have fun while doing it. I'm going to talk about some global projects that we have done. Then I'm going to talk about more close to you guys, the things that we've done from Thailand and nearby here, Asia. And you get to choose, I don't know what category Bottomline projects actually fits in. We don't really know each other. We're growing constantly and looking for new ways to develop the foundation. So it's going to be it's going to be like 10 presentations in one go. I'm going to be brief. I only got 25 minutes and 40 seconds left. I do a lot of training if somebody's interested also. We are actually, Bottomline Projects is also, we're a registered foundation, which is nothing that I did much about. It's a lot of paperwork. We are registered in Finland, which means that we are trying to look for funders constantly to fund our projects. All our projects so far, what you see, is funded by us. Some of them were paid, but mainly just poor instructors putting all their money and passion into a sport. That's us. There's at least Anand was there. Are you here? Yes. But this is our group, small part of our group. We are just passionate explorers and diving instructors, cave divers, specialists in different fields, and I think that's one of our benefits, that we try to use individual skills from any part of not even diving, but if you have any skills, we try to put people together and create kind of I talk about quite often a sandbox for explorers, where we meet with different people from different corners of the world with different skills and then we create something bigger together. Soon you will see a couple of projects that I can explain easily what I mean now. We usually do our own projects. Sometimes we are invited to bigger projects, like the global ones next. And then pretty much what we do, apart from being invited to these bigger projects, is always done by us. We come with a crazy idea and then execute it somehow. These are few projects that we've done outside of Thailand, and you will see that they quite often include cameras and all sorts of recording devices, trying to bring the sceneries, try to educate, execute, and explore at the same time. There's one of the most interesting projects few years back was in Baltic Seas. This is an example again what we do in our team, or part of our team was called into a movie. It's a Hollywood movie that was filmed in Baltic Sea about all the historical wrecks in the Baltic between depth 60 to 90 meters. And it's super cold water, and they were looking for people who could, for example, use the cameras. And if somebody, this is one of my favorite piece of kit that I ever used in a movie or in a filming set. It's a Arri Mini camera, which is roughly about 100,000 K. The camera plus the housing, maybe 150 plus lights. We're talking about almost $200,000 for the camera. And we had 3 of them during the shooting. And then I think they got us, or I was the DOP in the film. And not because I know how to film this camera. That was the first time I ever saw this beast. And I came with 4 people putting it together for me, and then I have 5 light guys with me in each dive. And I think the reason why I was there was because they wanted the camera back. Not really a fancy footage, but they knew that if they give it to me, I might even survive the dive. We did scenes in virgin wrecks that we never been in Baltic, that the directors, they asked like, okay, try to make your fellow CCR diver, the actor, look like he's panicking. So you go into a virgin wreck with pretty much and bring the person in and ask him to take the loop off and act like panicking diver. And then you're filming it with 2 cameras and 10 light guys around, and the panic diver is shaking the wreck so so much that it almost collapsed. But that's just a part of like, I don't know, people don't have education for this kind of thing, so they quite often we've been called to some projects where the experience we have plays a big role. And if we don't have it, we know people who have it. So a big part of Bottomline projects is to have kind of the sandbox or the connections around that we can always find people for projects. This one is in Pacific Ocean. We were invited to Inkfish and Major Project Foundation by good Dr. Matt Carter. One of the bigger projects, we 3D map. That's another thing that we do a lot. You're going to see towards the end. One of our tools is to create 3-dimensional replicas using photogrammetry underwater and caves. And this is a good example of the machinery that we love a lot. I'm driving here, mapping the Bikini Atoll, actually, the Ghost Fleet that they sunk after World War II. It was plus 20 boats. Biggest one was the USS Saratoga, and I think smallest one was still over 100 meters tall. And we were supposed to map all the potentially oil leaking maps with using 3D photogrammetry. Another teams were using MBS and ROVs alongside, but we were the diving team. And looking at the technology that we're using, which has been developed in last years a lot, which allows us to do with lighter equipment. Cameras are getting more powerful, lights are getting more powerful. The software to create these models are getting more powerful. The CCRs, the diving equipment that they use, they are getting more smaller and powerful as well. And here we have, this is with 2 Canon DSLRs, full frame cameras in the front. And then you got 140,000 lumens of light, lighting the wreck. And all attached to a scooter. And then you even have the Insta360 there for the test runs. So these kind of things we were running in bikini and creating these models for the defense forces to extract the oil from the possibly oil-leaking wrecks. I also had Mark Crane in front of me chasing the sharks away from the pictures. These, you can see more of that topic from Matt Carter, Major Project Foundation. Another thing in cold conditions, Bikini Atoll was fairly warm, but this one is in Norway. And once again, our team was called in to film something in, it's a documentary called Untold Arctic Wars, which turned out to be a very, very good document, how do you say, like the most sold documentary in Finnish history, at least to international parties. It was a documentary about World War II and kind of like the untold stories behind what happened over the Arctic Circle. So now we are diving in Norway and Finland and Sweden in the Arctic zones, which means the water is pretty much 3 degrees constantly. And what I discovered, or we discovered during the documentary, I always thought that when you go kind of like film a documentary, they know already what are you looking for. They have an idea like, okay, here we have a Russian truck or an airplane or something that you go and film it then. But literally what we did during that documentary filming was that we were just looking for stuff. And this is one of the junkers, or the only junker we found, but a Juju Ace of Hearts that was lost in one of the Norwegian fjord lakes. And we only had a picture of the Juju on ice when it was like 75 years ago during the war. And with that picture and some ROVs and we pulled in the boat and we actually located and discovered this wreck during the documentary. And then my job was to film that discovery. So it was pretty authentic documentary. And it wasn't the only plane we found during the documentary. We found another Messerschmitt in the second season. Once again, this is our Finnish team now, mastering 4-hour dives in 3-degree, 4-degree water and 80 meters of depth in this particular place or project. Then another Finnish project. This is a 3D, very bold project when we started to get into the overhead environment and underwater 3D photogrammetry. We had a mind, this idea came from probably the cave rescue 2018 when we were looking at the maps that we needed to navigate through the rescue of the kids, and there was none. So we tried to figure out ways how can we map underground dive sites, tunnels and caves better, and 3D photogrammetry seems to be the way to do, but there was no examples, there was no manuals how to do it. We tried 10 years ago and we managed a little bit. Now this was started 5 years ago, this project. And as you see, it got a little bit out of hands. We were supposed to just first map the tunnels of that mine. Our goal was to map all the tunnels in one mine because nobody has ever done that. And then while doing it, we got a little bit publicity. I mean, we posted what we're doing it because that's our way. We don't want to hide what we're doing. We kind of like tell, even way before it makes any sense, we tell about what we're about to do. And then we try to explain people while we're doing it, how we're doing it, and that didn't work. We go back, try another time, and then if we succeed or don't, it doesn't really matter. The opposite way of usually, how do? You usually finish the project and then tell what you did. But we go while we're doing it. And that kind of brought fruit into the project, because while we were explaining that we're going to now start mapping this one mine in Finland, there was a guy who called us and was like, hey, I got a boat. It's only like 5 hours away, and he has a side-scan sonar system. Maybe that would help. And then we're like, yes, why not? Let's map the whole thing then. Let's not map the tunnels, let's map the whole quarry. And then another guy called us, hey, I have even better. I got a boat, trailer, and an MBS system, a multi-beam sounder, which has never been in the mines or blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, I can rock that. I can drive the car and put that boat in. And then we got a point cloud from the quarries. And when that went out, we got a phone call from a guy who was a ROV 3D modeler, and he had a proper ROV with, once again, remember our budget is small, we were planning to do it with GoPros. He got a DSLR and a proper ROV, and he rocks in with that, and the next thing is a plane with laser LiDAR systems coming and joining the party. And now we are like, we started with nothing, and it was impossible, and now just by people, and they volunteer, they were just like, we want to help, and we want to see what can we do together. And now we have planes, and we got drones, and we got LiDAR, and we got side scan sonars, and then we are doing still the mapping in the tunnels using manpower. This model took about, we just published it last Thursday or something, like 3 days ago. So it's been like 4 years of work. In total, we took 1,500,000 pictures for it, which not all of it was used. But when we started making these tunnels, we chose the smallest mine in Finland, by the way. The visibility is bad, and it's always 4 degrees, so you don't see this. What we did to start it, we had 2 lights, we had a GoPro or DSLR, we're testing different cameras, and we literally needed to paint all the walls so that you go paint this one, you come back a little bit up, a little bit the top side, to get everything in the picture because of the visibility, because of the light power, because of the methods that we use and the cameras that we use. So to paint every corner of just the tunnels, there's like a kilometer of tunnels over there, was a task, plus the quarry. And then with the airplanes and stuff, we also decided to map all the surroundings of the mine also, so the forests and parking areas. And if that wasn't enough hard to do, then there was the software, like how do you put all this information together from different cameras and different methods. And then that took like 3 years to figure out. Now the model is not as good as we would hope, but it's the first model that was done which has all these elements, topside, quarries, tunnels, and a whole system. And you can put a VR glasses on and go to the Kuortane municipality in Finland and dive into the system, the whole system, without getting wet. We come a long way from that, and I'm going to go more like to the local projects, which also include a lot of 3D. But also, like I said, we try to educate. I guess it means like we come up with new systems and explain how we do these things. Explore and inspire. So exploration part, couple of years we've been super busy, and one of the most interesting finds that we've done is just right Malaysia border, up north. Across the border you come to Satun province, and there is now the longest underwater cave system in Thailand. Then there's going to be some Navy sinking ships. We like wrecks, but now we've gone further and we started to sink ships or be part of it. And I'm going to go through this one by one. So Satun Cave project was we got an invitation from one of the climbers from the Thai cave rescue. So it's bringing fruit, that little operation. And he had this cave system in Satun where all the elders go to, or the local, they go swimming, the kids are playing there, the head of the families, they go fishing inside the cave. The cave system is pretty unique, as the first 517 meters we know now is cavern zone. So kids are going in there, and family members and whatnot are wandering in there. So obviously there was this nightmare behind the heads of the national park leaders in that area, that they want to map properly this place. Hence we were called in, and we started to map the place. Half a kilometer first, carrying the equipment in a little canoes. You put your camera gear, you put your rebreathers and tanks, and you try to get to the beginning of where the end of the cavern zone. We nobody knew how far it actually goes. So that was part of the deal that we were supposed to do over there, try to see how far it goes. And we're happy to say that we are now 2 kilometers in, and we are still not in the end of the cave. It still goes. And while we're doing this, we also get to test the new method that we're now using, which is the Insta360 X4 three-dimensional spare cameras. And that has been a game changer for the underwater cave mapping. And this is the footage. I'm actually working there at the moment. This is the footage from my camera that I'm using, and at the same time with the lights evenly spread around, you can use that material for creating 3D replicas. So that it has made the whole process, what used to took 4 years from us, we can now do in 4 weeks. And maybe next year we can do it in 1 week, who knows. But it's getting ahead, this three-dimensional cave mapping. Yes, so now with Saturn project, it's also one idea why we're doing this is that we try to open new dive sites or cave diving sites in Thailand and elsewhere. So now if we do it, we can say it's safe, and we map the place and we put the lines in. If the national park agrees, they might open these sites. There's more caves than only this one. They might open new dive sites, so that's one of our tasks to do. This is then another whole new or different thing. We've been involved with every wreck that has been sunk in Koh Tao, and will be. There will be more. But this was just a mad project where we secure the places where they should be sunk and so on and so forth. But also we wanted to document them, and we did 3D photogrammetry models of them while they were still on land, so we can kind of like follow up the interrogation, not the rusting up part, when we do a model annually and see how they deteriorate by time. That was the most violent thing that I also have ever felt or been in underwater, when we demanded with Maxim that we need to be down there when they sink the ships so we can film them coming down. And I don't recommend that to anyone. It's a very violent, very noisy when a warship lands on you. Luckily, we got our heads together and swim away just last minute, took some distance. But I did borrow a GoPro from my friend, and I put it in a concrete block to film the whole happening, even if I'm a little bit more back with my big camera. And the concrete block, they're getting very precise with the sinking now, because the 313 Subhyrin is now precisely on top of the concrete block and balancing on top of the GoPro that I left there. It's still underneath the ship. Obviously, when they're sunk, we go back in, we're gonna do a 3D model out of them. And that's what the kind of equipment we use in wrecks at the moment. So once again, massive amount of lights, but with the little GoPro even or Insta360 you can manage. You don't need a DSLR. CCRs obviously, they play a good role in this because it can take some time, and it's more likely to come out better if you can do the whole map in one dive. We also we have a project of mapping all the dive sites, so we want to not only do the underground maps, the caves or the mines, but also make 3D models out of every dive site. We are using Koh Tao as a pilot project, so we are now, I don't know how many, maybe 8 dive sites has been mapped to 3D. So eventually at some point, hopefully this will be the standard instead of the 2D cartography maps that are not so accurate. Sometimes the same technology can be used this is a map of artificial coral reef. So you can see in 3D the dimensions and relationships where each coral farm is. And when you go to detail, this is a very bad example actually, but you can go to a detail and you can actually follow up the growth of the corals as well, how they go. Then before we stop, one of the latest, biggest projects we have is the mine diving in Thailand. I got 5 minutes. So why I started diving mines more than 30 years ago. About 30 years ago, but in Thailand we didn't have, I don't know, in Asia I need to sit down and talk with the local guys. How is it going over here? It's going to be super interesting. But we wanted to, this is a list that we before we even start, we wanted to do. And now 2.5 years of doing it, we can say happily that we've done all this. So I'm reading a list that we did now, not what we're about to do. We managed to introduce the mine diving into Thailand, bring out the beauty and the cultural history. This is something that we do through cameras, and maybe some of you have seen what we have done, and there's a few documentaries already out there. We created new overhead environment training sites, which is in Thailand. We don't have enough. I'm sure there could be more, but these guys, they've proven to be the best because they got good visibility, large tunnels, part of it, no collapses. Then you got restrictions, you got natural, more complex navigation, you got everything in under one roof kind of, and it's open throughout the year, no flow. So we can teach now easier in a demanding but safe environment. Citizen science, we've learned a lot about how the water toxicity, we actually getting into that more. We got professors joining into the group, so we can actually do some proper scientific studies, which me and my mates cannot do. Local tourism, believe it or not, it has these places that we've been opening. There's a thing called cave diving tourism, and people travel around and they get to these places and they will spend a little bit money for the local restaurant, accommodation, whatnot, and there's some fees for the local as well as they keep us safe. And exploration obviously is one of the biggest reasons. I'm going to skip that video. Boom, if I can. Here is some specs. We've already come up with 8 mines that are diveable. Half of them I would recommend to dive. The other half I wouldn't recommend to dive. They're very death traps. But let's say altogether we have done approximately 6 kilometers of cave line into the 3 main mines. We're now down to 110 meters, and the mines, they still keep going. So there's a lot of exploration field for the future years to come. And there's more and more mines the further into we look. And I would hope to see you guys also have a chat over here in Malaysia, because the mines don't stop to Thailand. And here is just a clip again. How does it look inside the mines? So once again, I'm not just cruising around, but it looks like I am, and it's super fun to do. But at the same time, I am like recording everything around me. And how? This time I have 2 36,000 lumen lights with the diffusers on my back, and I control them with the remote control. So when I'm changing to a narrow passage or I'm coming to a little bit bigger room, I can change the light power, bigger, smaller, so that it doesn't burn or there's enough light without me stopping and adjusting, because I'm on a scooter. And scootering with time-lapse every half a second picture, you can scooter as fast as you can, and you can still get pretty good models out of it. So you can actually make 3D maps with the speed of 40 meters per minute. Cartography, when you do cartography, the old school, you would spend a year to write it down and go left, up, right, left, da, da, da. So this is super fast way of doing it, and it's pretty accurate. I would say almost as accurate as a Nemo tool when you know what you're doing. And with the 360 X4 camera in the front, you just put it on, let it go time lapse, and that will do the recording for you. No need to change angles or go around. Well, you still need to go around objects a little bit, but not that much as with the rectangular cameras. There's still a minute, 20 seconds. So this is a map of the Buyai number 2 mine, and it's 1/3 of the map of the mine. It looks whatever it looks, but what we have here, these are tunnels. So the entry is over there. That's how you come in. There's a habitat somewhere over there, and then these brain-looking thingies, they are the chambers. And if you want to see the model, I have it in the XD Big Blue Seal booth. I can show it to you how to get in there and all that stuff. I couldn't put it in here, but I have it with me. And just comparing this to a 2D cartography map, where you can see from the upright or from the side the line maps, they are extremely useful, but together combined with 3D maps like this, I think that is pretty much going to be the standard in the future. And you can literally see it from every angle and explain detailed how to execute the rescue or the search or your upcoming dive. I'm out of time, so that's about it. If you're interested, you can contact us via something like, you can give me a mail, or you can get that QR code, and then there's a couple of questions. Your email will be the most important, and then we will promise to give you an email by the end of the year how to join and what we have going on. If you have any questions, I'm going to be around here all weekend until Sunday, and so on and so forth. So thank you for listening, and hope that was educative somehow. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mikko, on the topic that was just delivered. So in the meanwhile, a very good afternoon to you all, and the official ceremony will commence at the time frame shortly. So please be on standby. And once again, a very good afternoon to all visitors, and we do have lots and lots of activities lined up in store in conjunction with the show. So in the meanwhile, the official ceremony will commence shortly. So in the meanwhile, we will update you on the latest trends accordingly in a few moments from now. Thank you.